So now we can take a photo of any product that we want, give our agent a bit of a creative brief, and once we send this, it will trigger our automation, and once that's done, we get the video back to watch.
Introducing the new Nutri-Grain Chalk Malt, packed with 12.7 grams of protein, loaded with rich crunch. Fuel up and stay unstoppable.
Taste the tropics. Brewed in Manly. The school game starts July 1st.
So I just built this AI agent system that creates adverts and content that traditionally costs hundreds of thousands of dollars to produce, shoot, and add VFX to, but now can be created for your own brand or product simply by taking a photo and letting our AI agent handle the rest, and which you as an AI creative agency owner can sell to clients, either by packaging this agent as a mini application that you can set up for them, or by offering, say, a bundle of content pieces for a certain price like what we did here, but where now you get 90+% profit margins because of how cheap it is to create these materials thanks to today's AI models like Veo3. And this system does that by combining the technologies of ChatGPT's image model to put your product into the scene, then using Veo3 to create the video from that scene, and n8n's AI agent technology to orchestrate the whole thing as well as craft your prompts for you. Which, with these agents helping you out and with these technologies bound to improve over time, you can effectively become a one-person creative agency once you have these AI agents set up for yourself. And by the way, we're using no-code tools for this, so I honestly think that anyone can do it, even if you're a complete beginner. So invest the next few minutes learning about this important AI skill today and watch till the end if you can, because this is for sure an area of expertise that you want to upskill in, given the historic shift that AI is bringing. By the way, in case you're new here, my name is Jay. I lead Robo Labs, which is our agency arm helping mostly brands and content businesses use AI in meaningful ways. And I also lead the RoboNuggets community, where we have several hundred AI practitioners located around the globe, and where the mission is simple, is to make creating with AI easy to learn and earn from. And in fact, to make this as easy as possible, I've actually collated all the resources and prompts that you need for this system here at our page in our community, where you can also download this workflow's blueprint file, which you can just import to the no-code tool we'll be using, and that will create the automation for you automatically. So that's available if you want a shortcut, but if you're a complete beginner, don't worry, because I will be walking you through step by step how to create this system as well. So you can understand the principles of how to create a system like this, which is more important than the template itself in my view. But before we go into building this automation itself, I actually want to do things a bit differently this time and first talk about the monetary opportunity that this technology is bringing to light. And ordinarily, I don't show stuff like these because of non-disclosure agreements and whatnot. But since this is an older client, I think it should be okay. But I wanted to point out that if you're a creative agency and you create content and adverts for clients, it's actually common to package up a bundle of social posts or ads for your client, along with other services you can do for them for that month. And here you can see for this one, we agreed to do 12 social posts for $1,000, which translates to around $83 per post. Now, the point I wanted to make is if you just do a quick paper exercise, and of course this varies on a case-by-case basis, but in the old world without AI, it used to be that you would need an account manager and a creative professional to be able to offer these services and to create this advert. And so effectively your margin will fall roughly within the 40 to 60% average range. But now what's happening with AI being used as leverage, you can actually start to set up your own AI agents, similar to what we'll build today, in order to start offering these services to your clients. And because these models can be used for quite cheaply now, which in this method I'll show, you can see Veo3 can be accessed for as low as 40 cents per video. And then we'll also use the ChatGPT image model, which is really cheap at 3 cents per image. And so if that is all the costs you need in order to create one advert, then effectively you have 90 to 99% gross margin for that advert, which you just sold for $83 a piece. And then the other leverage point with AI is the fact that these adverts can take as low as 10 minutes to create, whereas before it can take 30 minutes to 1 hour just to create an advert. And so I think what could be possible in the very near future is that if you have the skill to properly brief these AI agents that you can set up for yourself, which are bound to improve over time. So whatever I'll show here is probably the worst that it would look. What could really be possible is that even if you're only one person, you can start your own creative agency because of the leverage that AI brings. And so these are quite early days, but I feel like an ACA, AI creative agency model may arise out of this, which is an important distinction versus the AI automation agencies or AAA agencies that a lot of great AI educators like Liam, Nick, and Nate are talking about here on YouTube. just because of the difference in the service offering that these types of agencies like us are providing to clients. So if you want me to talk more about that model, then drop a comment below and I'll probably make a separate video on it. But for this video, what we'll be focusing on is creating this AI system so that you too can get a flavor of what this AI creative agency workflow can actually do for you and see if it's right for your brand or your business. All right, let's get to creating this workflow. So if you look at this workflow, it may look complex and intimidating, but you can notice that there are actually a lot of nodes that are the same here. So later, as we go through this automation, you'll find that we'll just need to duplicate a lot of these nodes. And that actually makes building the automation simpler than you think. But broadly, there's essentially three parts here. First, you would need to set up your input section. Essentially, the end in mind is when the user sends a photo and a message over a Telegram, this workflow should be receiving it. So this is that section. And then you have this factory right here, which is composed of two AI agents that are working together and calling on ChatGPT's image model plus Veo3 in order to produce your image here in this section, which are then passed to Veo3 to create the videos. Basically using the best image model out there now combined with the best video model. And then once that is done, we have a simple final step here of sending the output back to our Telegram channel. And this piece you can obviously replace with whatever platform that you want. So if you want to upload it to Dropbox or Google Drive, that's an option for you too. So let's get started with this input section. And if in case you're new to all of this, n8n is the low-code tool that we are using, which you can try out if you click on this link. And here is where you can sign up, and which if you haven't heard of n8n before, it's kind of like Zapier or Make.com. It's an automation tool that has gotten very popular recently because of its integrations with AI agents. And it's also not that complex if you have someone to guide you through it. But once you're in your dashboard, you can just click on Create Workflow here at the top right. Name this workflow with whatever that you want. And for our first step, you just want to select a trigger, which in this case will be Telegram. So a trigger will just dictate how this automation is triggered. And this one, we want it to be triggered on message. So you just select that. And then the only thing you need to set here is your credential. So you can see I already have a couple of credentials here. So for you to do that, just click on Create New Credential and you'll see that it will be asking you for an access token. And to get that, you just need to head to this link, which will open for you this chat with the bot fodder, which is the official way by which bots or agents are created from within Telegram. So once you're here, very simple, you just type in new bot. And then for the name, just name it with whatever that you want. So let's try this. And then a username, which should end with bot. And then it tells you that your bot is now live, which you can go here and we'll go to that later. But for now, what you really need is this access token, which you can just paste here and then click save. Now, if you click execute step, what it will say is that it's going to listen for a test event. And if you go to the bot that we just created, we click on start, you'll see that that event was just pulled into your n8n instance and you can see details of that message here along with the message that you sent in this case, which is start. So that's good. So now your Telegram bot is able to receive messages. Let's just add a new node here to test that it can send messages for us. So what happens next is still going to be Telegram, and then you want it to send a text message as its action. You want to connect it to the credential that you just created. And then for the chat ID, this is just a way for n8n to locate which chat thread to send this message to. So to do that, you can just locate your chat ID here and drag it here. And then for the text, this will just be a fixed field and you can type in whatever that you want here. But for this one, to make it more user-friendly, I'll just say something like, I'm now crafting your prompts, which is good enough. So if we execute that step, you'll see that your agent just talked back to you. So it says, got it, I'm now crafting your prompts. And if you want to remove this message sent automatically with n8n, you just go to add field, append n8n attribution, and then toggle that off. So if we re-execute this step, it just gave us that message without the n8n attribution. So perfect, Telegram agent now set up. Now, last two nodes for this input section is whenever we talk to this agent, of course, we'll be sending a photo of the product that we want to create an ad for. And so our end in mind is to pull that image into n8n's instance. So how do you do that? Well, the quickest way that I found to do it is to use this HTTP request node. Name this as something like get image path. And by the way, if you want to follow along on this tutorial, you need to rename it the same way that I do because n8n actually references nodes by their names as well. So that just prevents headaches for you down the line. But you just want this method to remain as get because we'll just be getting a photo in this case. And the question becomes, where will we actually get that photo from? Which you will place here in this URL. And so to fill in this field, to make it easy, you can just go back to our page here and copy this and then place that there. And you can see there's a placeholder here for the bot access token. So if we just expand that, what you just need to do is to replace that whole field with the token that you got from the bot fodder. So copy that and replace that there. And the reason why you need to do this is because obviously Telegram is a big place. There's a lot of agents that are being hosted there. So this is just a way for you to specifically get information on your agent that you created. So everything here should be set along with this green text, which is basically a dynamic value in n8n. So how that is translating is it's getting you your file ID, which Telegram has assigned to your image when you sent that photo to it. So now if we execute this step, what you'll get as an output is this file path, which is what's important for us to grab the image from Telegram's servers. So if we click away, the last node that you just want to set up here is going to be an OpenAI Analyze Image node. So if you just search for OpenAI, look for Analyze Image, and then rename this as Analyze Image. Basically, we need this step because at least at the time of this recording, n8n's AI agents can't understand images yet. So we'll need this extra small node so that we can have that analysis of the images done for our AI agents. So if you haven't set up something like this before, essentially you just create a new credential here and it's going to ask for your API key, which you can get from this URL. And if you create your key here, you can just copy that here. And this may seem like a lot of connections and we're moving slow. But if you work with n8n before, you probably have these already set up. Or if you're just starting, these are mainly steps that you only do once, and then later on, you'll be much faster when building these out. But anyway, just click on save. And now you just need to choose a model. Let's just choose the latest one. And then for the text input, there's a placeholder here. But if you just copy this piece from our page, place that there. That's basically just a better input, asking essentially ChatGPT to describe the product that we have in our hand. And now the image itself, which this node will be analyzing, you just want to place the URL of that image here, which you can copy the path for here and place that there. Now, if we expand that, that's going to be another bot access token that you need to just replace. So once you have that set up, this image path as a result will now lead you to your image that you just uploaded. So if you just paste this in any browser, that should download the image for you actually. So if you head back, turn off simplify output just for this use case, we can execute this step. And what OpenAI will do is it will grab that image the same way that you can using that URL and provide an analysis of the image under this content piece. So you can see it is correctly describing it as a breakfast cereal made by Kellogg's and so on and so forth. And if you need better readability, you can just go to the table view and you can see that here as well. So there you go. The input section is now complete. So you can just organize this the same way I have. You can add a sticky note and type this in as input, change the color, and then just organize it here. And now we can move on to the ad creator itself. All right, so how do you set up this corpus of nodes, which looks complex, but again, you can see a lot of the nodes here are just repeated. So here at the very top is where we'll be asking our AI agents to craft the prompts for us, along with a mechanism for us to approve those prompts, which the industry is calling as HITL or human in the loop. So we'll be learning that. And then here is where you pass along those prompts to ChatGPT's image model to create the image first using the product that you are holding in your hand, and then passing that along to Veo3 to create the video. So to set that up, we can just continue this and look for an AI agent node and then just rename this to the initial prompt AI agent because it will be crafting the first prompt for us. And the source for the prompt, we want to define it below because this will be your user prompt, which is sort of like what you would type to ChatGPT, for instance. So for what you would want to put there, you can just copy this and paste that there. And if you expand that, essentially what you're dictating to your agent is what the initial creative brief is, which is what you included in your Telegram message, and the description of the product, which our image analysis node gave for us. So that's good. And then you want to toggle this require specific output format as on so that you can better control the output of this node. And then you want to add a system prompt by adding the system message here. There is a placeholder here, which you can just delete. And under the system prompt here, you can just copy this whole thing and paste that there. And you can change this to expression just so that you can preview it. And this is quite detailed. You can read this through in your own time, but we're basically just providing the agent with more guidance through our agent framework, which we talked about in the previous video. And obviously you can craft your own system prompt as well. Or if you want to refine this AI agent to only provide you ads on a specific style or mood, then this system prompt would be your starting point to edit as well. So that's good that you have your AI agent now set up with a system prompt, which gives it its role in life, and a user prompt, which is your command for that specific run. But if you execute this step, it will still fail because it is looking for a chat model. So if we go back, you'll see that this AI agent has some subnodes here. So first we want to give it a brain. So the chat model is going to be that, lots of familiar names here. But since we've already set up OpenAI, let's use that. You can just use your same credential. We're going to use 4.1, which is what works in my view for this case. And then just click away. Under tool, you would want to provide it the tool called think. And this is just something you add. You don't even need to change the description. But what that allows your AI agent to do is to think about its output first and recursively feed itself before giving that output to you. So it is reasoning in a sense, which is becoming more of a best practice in the AI world. And then finally, you want to add an output parser. So when we toggle that require specific output format as on from earlier, that enabled this branch, which you can just click the structured output parser for. And then if you have this, you'll be able to control the output of your AI agent to align to whatever example that you provide here. And to make it easy, you can just copy this whole piece and paste that there. So later you'll see when we run this AI agent, these are the fields that it will return. So if we go back, now everything is set. What we can do is go back to our agent, execute this step. And what's going to do now is using its system prompt to guide its output. It will look at what you sent it, which is the photo we sent over a Telegram, and provide us with some initial prompts, which if we go to the output here, you'll see that it gave us a pretty strong image prompt. It gave us a video prompt here, which is also in JSON format, which we're finding now to be more effective when it comes to video ads like these. You have a caption and a creative summary, which is just important because this is going to be fed into our human in the loop model. And we also have the aspect ratio and video model here. So right now it's set as vertical using Veo3 Fast, the cheaper model, but we can also provide feedback to the agent that we want a horizontal video, or if you want the Veo3 quality model, that's something that this agent will be able to handle as well. You can actually go straight to generating the creatives already, but if you look through our end in my workflow, we just have a couple of nodes here for us to be given the chance to provide feedback on its prompts through this human in the loop instance. So to set that up is actually simpler than you think. You could just extend this and find an edit fields node and just rename this with set prompts. Because all we're really going to do here is to drag one by one all of the prompts that we have generated, as well as this caption and creative summary, the aspect ratio, and the video model. And this is just important so that we can set whatever is the latest image prompt, whatever is the latest video prompt for this run. Because remember, later on, we'll have a reviser AI agent that can provide us new prompts. So if you don't do this step, the agent will always be getting the initial image prompts, which we don't want. So for cleanliness, I just renamed this and remove this output dot in the beginning. So you can just do that for all of it. And once you're done, you can just click execute step. And all that really did is load those same data for you. Now, the next node is going to be our human in the loop step. So under human in the loop, there's actually several options here, but just find the Telegram one and rename this to something like get approval. Make sure you are connected to the bot that you're working with. For the chat ID, same as before, you just want to direct n8n on which specific chat thread you are referencing. So just find a chat ID from the Telegram trigger node. And then for the message, our intention here is to provide us, the user, with a preview of the initial prompt that our AI agent just gave us. So you can do this however that you want, but to make it easy, you can just copy this and paste that there. And what that will do, if you expand that, is it will just provide the caption for this prompt specifically and this creative summary, which we included in the output of the previous AI agent, just to provide us with a description of what the video will be, as well as the aspect ratio and the model we'll be using, just to give visibility to the user of what the AI agents are planning to do. And then for the response type, this is essentially how you as the user would provide feedback to this agent. So change that to custom form. And then for you to build out this form, you can just add some elements here. You'll see this come to life in a bit, but for the field name, you can just name this as approve. Change this to a drop-down list, and you can experiment with those different element types as well if you want. But for the field options, you can just type in yes and no so that you can provide feedback to this agent if the prompt that it just generated is already good enough for you or not. So we'll tag that as a required field. So this is sort of similar to how you would create a Google form or a Tally form, to be honest. For the field name, you just want the comments here, which is going to be a free text. You can have a placeholder here, type your comments here, and we don't really want that as a required field. And the final thing that you want here is to add in append n8n attribution and just toggle that off. So now if we execute this step, you'll see that it is now waiting for an input. So if you go back to our Telegram agent, what it basically did is provide us some visibility on what it's planning to create, as well as what the aspect ratio and model is. And if you click on respond, this is more seamless when it comes to mobile, so you can try it out. But on desktop, it works as well. It will just open a link where it has that same message, and then this is the form that you just provided it. So for this case, for the sake of testing, let's just say no, we don't want to approve it. And for the comments, the way we usually do this is on mobile, you just have like a text-to-speech function in your phone, and then that's how you provide comments. But for this case, to keep it simple, we want it to change to landscape because right now it says vertical. And let's say we want it to change to Veo3 quality because right now it's saying Veo3 fast. So if you submit that, it will say thank you. And going back to n8n, we've got that information now that we didn't approve it, and we got some comments as well. So now after this is going to be a fork in the road, because if we didn't approve it, then it should proceed to our reviser AI agent. But if we do approve it and say yes there, then it should proceed to our generation nodes already. So to declare that, you just have a simple if node here, where this condition will be this approve attribute. If you just drag that in, if it's equal to yes, then it will be true. So if you go back, there will now be a true branch here, which is if it's approved, we'll go to the generation. But what we'll do is, what if it is not approved, which is this false tab here. So if you play this from that earlier example, you'll see it routed to that false branch because we didn't actually approve that prompt. So when it routes to the false tab, what you just want is to copy this initial prompt AI agent and duplicate it for another instance and just connect that there. Now, the great thing about these agents, earlier to what I said, is it takes less setup once you get into it, because this chat model, you can just connect to the same model there, the tool, you can just connect there as well, and the output parser, you can just connect here also. And what I like to do is just put them on the top so it's much cleaner in my view. So if you double click this, rename this into the revised prompt AI agent, everything else here, especially the system prompt, will actually already work, but you just want to revise this user prompt, which you can copy here and paste that there. And just to point out the only change that we did, we just provided it this extra line saying here are additional comments that is now pointing to the comments that we just typed in that form, which is change the landscape, change the Veo3 quality, so that this revised prompt AI agent, when we execute that step, it will now take into consideration those comments and recraft your prompt. And when it's finished, you'll get a new output, but it's basically the same structure where you have an image prompt, video prompt, and so on and so forth. But now you can see it is in landscape and is using the Veo3 quality model, which is what we need. Now this node will just need to lead back to this set prompts node to restart that whole human in the loop process and just make sure that whatever it crafted as a revised prompt is now good to go. So now if we go back to our final workflow here, what we'll set up next is passing along those approved prompts into ChatGPT's image model. So to do that, you can just continue by dragging this true branch and placing it here. And then first adding a Telegram send a message node, which is here. I just named this as in progress. Make sure you're connected to your bot. And then for the text here, it's just a simple text to confirm to the user that your creative is now in progress. Because after this node, it will actually take some time to generate the video and the image. And so this node is just more on the usability perspective, so that when you're on mobile and you're on the go, you can easily glean that your agent is actually working for you behind the scenes. And then like before, just add this append n8n attribution and turn that off if you want. But you can see that our input data is missing here. So to make things easy, what you can actually do is to rerun this workflow once again. So if you click execute workflow, and if in case you run to this same issue, basically n8n won't run if there's like a red node there. So you can just type in a placeholder there for now so that we can execute this workflow. Now it's waiting for a trigger event, which you can trigger by sending another photo to your bot. And when it gets to the human in the loop step, we can just review and we can just go to that form again. But this time we approve it, click submit, and that should route all that good information back to the workflow that we are setting up. So if you open this, now you have all the inputs here again. And you can find the chat ID once again and just drag it here. Make sure your placeholder is removed. So now if we execute this step, what that will just do is allow you to run this workflow. And if you go back to our bot here, it just gave us a quick message to say that it's hard at work with creating that video. So now to call on the ChatGPT image model, you want to have this HTTP request once again and rename this as create GPT image. And an HTTP request is actually one of the most popular nodes in n8n because it's the main way by which we can call on third-party tools by posting a request. So what we'll be doing is to post a request similar to how you would post a mail. And in that analogy, you of course would need an address to send that mail to. So this URL is where you put that address in. And that address for this case would be this URL, which you can just paste here. And you can see that this is calling on the GPT image model, but through this service called key.ai. And key.ai is an AI model aggregator. You can see there's a lot of models here, and they function similar to an app store, so that you can access these models through one platform. There are other services like Key, such as File.ai or Replicate, but we're using Key in this case because from what we found, the Veo3 implementation is actually the cheapest at the moment. So you can access it at something like 94% cheaper versus other methods. So back to our n8n workflow, if you have the address for your mail, you of course would need contents of that mail as well, so that the other party will understand what request you are making. So if you toggle send body as on, change the body to JSON, which stands for JavaScript Object Notation, you can just get that piece here, place that there, And what that will do, if you open that, is basically you're just giving key.ai that photo that you just took, as well as the prompt for the image, and then a couple of other attributes here that key AI requires. So if you execute this step, it will actually still fail. So if you get like a 401 code, that's still a failure. And the reason why is because it's saying that you don't have access permissions. So we need to set up our authentication or credential in this case, which is sort of like in the mail analogy, it's like a stamp of approval that says that you actually have credits to make this request in the first place. So multiple ways to do this. The one I recommend generally is to do it this way, where you have this setup, generic credential type, header auth. And then for the credentials itself, you can just create a new credential, name this with something memorable like key AI credential. And then you need to type this out exactly, authorization with capital A, no spaces. And then for the value, so you can see what you are typing, just change that to expression, type in bearer, and then space. And then you're going to insert your API key here. So how do you get that? Well, if you head back to key.ai, you can just find your API key here and then copy that in. And then if you save this and make sure it's selected, then your credential is now set up. So now before you hit execute step, just make sure that under the body here on what you pasted, since we're feeding it that same image that we sent via our Telegram bot, just make sure that you replace this placeholder with your bot access token, which you can get from the bot fodder like we did previously. So if you do that there, this JSON body request should now be good to go. And while setting this up, just so that you don't inadvertently run the previous nodes prior to this one, what you can just do is to highlight these nodes, the one that already ran. And then if you click on P, that will basically pin the data to make it easy for you to continue building out this workflow. So now if we execute this step, you should now receive a status code of 200, which means that your request was successfully passed. Now our image is not yet available because under the hood, ChatGPT's image model is actually creating that image for us. And so we just need to literally wait as the next step. So if you just add in that node, later on we'll set this to something longer, but for now just set it as 1 second, just so that you can continue building out this workflow with me. So once you hit execute step there, it should turn to green and that data is then passed along to the next node, which to make it easy, you can just copy this, paste that there, and relink it. Because this one, instead of creating the image, what we will now do is to get that image. So we can just rename it as such. You can change the method to get. And then for the URL, we actually need to replace this with this URL, which is as per key AI's documentations. So you can just paste that there. And then the credentials would remain the same, but you actually don't need the body for this case. What you would need is a query parameter, which you can just type in a task ID, capital I, and the value there would be this one. So you just drag that there. That will basically tell key AI that this is the image that you are trying to grab. So if we execute that step, you'll see that it says success. It seems that that image has been generated now. So let's just check it out. And there you go. If you just paste it on any browser tab, you'll be able to preview what the image model just generated for you. And it is looking pretty close to what you took your photo with. And mind you, that was a very low resolution photo. So if, for example, you already have studio quality shots of your product, then this would be even better. And also this will just improve over time. You can see there's some artifacts here still, but for most use cases, this is already really good. And it will probably get better as time goes on. And by the way, if in case you're running into any errors, or you want to check if it's still in progress, you can just go to logs here in Key AI, go to 4.0 image, and you can just inspect here what's happening to your task generation, if it's already a success or if it's still in progress, or if it failed, and an indication as to why. A common issue may be that you simply haven't added any credits to your account yet. Now, what's good about Key AI and services like it, AI model aggregators, is the fact that you actually don't need to subscribe to any plan. So unlike Flow or I believe Kriya AI, they have subscription plans that force you to spend a large amount per month. Here, you can get started with as low as $5, and that's enough already for a lot of Veo3 fast generations. So in my view, it's more accessible and more economical as well. But that's good. Now we have the image ready. So now again, you just want to highlight that and pin those nodes again. This is just useful so that if in case you need to pause here and come back to this workflow later on, you won't need to regenerate that image because all of that data is pinned. To cap off this row, you just want to add in another Telegram node, but this time we'll be sending a photo message because all this will really do is to send an image back to us. So you can rename it as such. Make sure again that your credential is connected there. For the chat ID, same thing, just find the chat ID from before. As for the photo, you just want to get the photo from the URL that previewed earlier. So this result URL, just drag that in there and then click execute step. And then when it succeeds and you go back to your Telegram agent, you'll see that it just sent you that photo back. And this is just good so that you can track the progress so that when you're, let's say, on the go or you're working through this on mobile, not facing your n8n workflow, you'll see which part of the process it already is in. So once you receive this image, you know that it will be generating the video next, which is the last step that we will be setting up. So to make this really easy, you can just copy this 3 nodes here, copy that there, or hit Control D and then just connect it like so. Because really the whole step to do this is just going to be the same as GPT image, but instead of calling the image model, we're actually going to call on Veo3 in this case. So we just need to change this URL from GPT-4o image and change that to this URL, which we got from KAI's documentation. So I already had a read of that for you. Credential would remain the same. And then for the body of the request, this will be the format. You can just paste that there. And if you expand that, this is just the standard of what KAI accepts for Veo3. We give it the prompt, which is the video prompt that we generated earlier and approved earlier. We're giving it the model, which is Veo3 for this case, because that's the one we approved, as well as the aspect ratio, also the one we approved. And then importantly, we are giving it the image URL of the generated image that we got earlier, which is this one. So now that everything here is set up, I believe I click execute step here, it will ask me to unpin, and that should be okay. And now our request is posted with a status code of 200. And now we just need to once again wait. 1 second is enough for this case. We'll be making that longer later on. And then finally for the get node, you can just rename this. Rename it to get Veo3. The right URL to get videos from is this. Paste that there. And then everything here should be the same. So if I click execute step, I think this will succeed, but it doesn't have a response yet. So that means that our video is still generating. So again, if you go back to your logs, navigate to Veo3, this is where you will see that that task ID is still running. So this takes roughly around 5 minutes to generate if you're using the Veo3 quality model. So when that has finished and you see a success here, what you can do is to just re-execute this get Veo3 step. And this time you'll be able to see the resulting URL, which contains your video file, which you can now preview in your browser.
Introducing the new Nutri-Grain Chalk Malt, packed with 12.7 grams of protein, loaded with rich crunch. Fuel up and stay unstoppable.
Now that is looking really good and really is the power behind Veo3. And if you zoom out here, you pretty much just built the AI Creator Factory portion of this workflow already. And so the remaining step is to just send it back to yourself in this output region. And to do that, you just need to extend this, find once again the Telegram node. But this time, what you will be doing is to send yourself a video file. So just click that, make sure you're working with your agent here. We'll just get the chat ID once again here. And then for the video, we'll be sending it the result URL here. And now if we execute that step, you should receive a message over at Telegram that shows that video that you just generated. So now to set this as active, remember to just go back to your wait nodes here and change the 1 second here to 300 seconds for the image generation. That's usually enough time for the image to generate. And then for your second wait node here, you can just set it from 1 second to 420 seconds, which is usually enough time to generate the video. And then just toggle it as active, and that should be done. And there you go. You just built yourself an AI agent that can create ads on the fly simply just by you taking a picture of any product that you want. And you also learn how to use the most powerful video model and integrate them with this one workflow where your AI agents are also doing all the prompt engineering hard work for you. Now, a few final thoughts to help you out. You can actually extend this workflow to also auto-publish to Instagram if you wish. So if you're interested in how to do that, I actually made a video for it a while back, so you can just check that out. And then here in our course page, I also included a few bonus contents, such as how to customize this agent for a specific brand. If you want to implement a certain color scheme or a certain tonality, that's possible as well. A few power user tricks and alternatives to the tools we've used, if in case that's of interest. And then finally, just to emphasize this, because this is important, but if you find that you are testing this AI agent and you're not getting that much output, the key driver here is you providing a really strong user prompt to this agent in order for it to understand what it needs to do. So if you just provided something like make an ad for this product, that will probably not give you the results that you want. So if you learned something from this video, feel free to like or subscribe. That just helps us a lot so that we can continue creating more educational stuff like this. And this template, as well as all the resources plus extra help and bonuses, they're all just available here at the RoboNuggets community. So check that out below just to see if that's for you. We have a lot of members across the globe. You can see sometimes we do in-person meetups as well. But if you're just starting, you're probably more interested in this classroom section where we have tons more AI lessons that lets you create faster and better with AI. We also do a lot of events here with industry leaders and tools, and a lot of our members also post paid opportunities here that I myself also post regularly. So if that's something that you're keen on, then that is something that's available for you as well. So if you want to broaden your network and join a community of like-minded people, then check out that community just to see if it's for you. That's it for this one. See you guys next time. Thank you.